Hello, everyone. We'll start shortly. In the meantime, we'll wait a couple of minutes for people to gather around. So, Tony, are you waiting for the weekend?
Oh yeah. I'm probably not going to do much other than walking the dog. And it's raining here in Granada, so not a very interesting weekend for me. But rest other than resting, because next week we are going to be in Madrid for a conference, the conference.
Oh, nice. That's a big one, right?
Yeah, it's one of the largest in Spain. Yeah.
Um, and also in Europe. I mean, I know it's kind of among the big ones.
We went there last year as well, but I don't remember how many people. It was crowded. It was tough.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good thing because the community in Spain is huge and it's a place where you see all the friends.
nice. Yeah, yeah. We have some conferences here in Romania as well, and whenever the time comes, we all gather and we see each other. It's a fun time, especially since everyone is working remote and we talk on LinkedIn and
Yeah,
other channels, seeing face to face and having a laugh. It's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah. We have normalized not seeing in person each other, but yeah, that is why we love now more than ever events, right?
Yeah, actually, that's I miss this human interaction myself. And that's why I try to go to some meetups, doing some things with people. It counts. It helps staying sane.
Totally.
Um, I will just check to make sure that the streams are working. That's always a fun one. Have you done
Yeah.
live streams before?
With Restream,
Live streams, like
live
on
streams.
LinkedIn
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah. Quite a few times with mostly with AWS people in Twitch.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
nice, nice. I actually, I, I was thinking that LinkedIn has something built in. You can just that would allow you to just connect and live stream, but you have to use third-party tools, which are fun, but not if you are using Linux.
yeah. Well, remember we were talking yesterday about using Linux as a workstation. I mean, I started in 2001. I bought my first laptop with my own money, my first computer that I could pay by myself, and it was a Toshiba. And
Okay.
of course, I was a Linux guy, but I was hardcore because I added FreeBSD
Oh, okay.
3.4 as my desktop
Okay,
operating
okay,
system,
I
and
understand.
that was a, I mean, interesting experience, let's say.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like I had fun the last 3 4 months with Arch Linux, but I can't do it anymore. I think I will buy a Mac and I will just call it a day. It's
Yeah,
just that I mean, if I wasn't supposed to I don't know to have meetings to do some share screening and stuff like that, maybe that would be fine. Just doing some coding and using the laptop, but it's possible. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I can live like this.
We have a couple of engineers at Prowler that they were using Arch Linux before they joined, but they said, well, yeah, it's time to switch to Mac, to
Yeah,
OS X.
yeah, I totally understand. Um, so I'm not sure if the live stream on LinkedIn is working. I'm
Let
just
me check
trying
by
to refresh
myself.
it. Yeah,
Mm,
join. It's
Live.
from my
Yes, it
computer.
is live. Yep, it
It
is
is
working.
live.
Yep.
Okay, okay. Then I guess it's something only from my end, but it's fine. Good. think I don't have more bandwidth for this. So let me just grab some links to leave them in the chat before we start talking, so that I can focus and then start.
Okay.
People will join along. Uh, what's this? Okay, that's one. Second chat and one more and I'm done. Cool.
Nice.
Good. So I think we can start. I left the links with the registration forms for the AWS giveaway, which thanks to Ryan Olet, we will have 20 vouchers for the cloud practitioner certification, which is really cool, and three $100 vouchers for the AWS Smart Shop, which again really cool. And Ryan also got us some shipping discounts, which again really cool. And the second link is for the Prowler swag, where you will have to complete some details, and then we'll see how many swags we can give and where we can ship them. But in any case, today in today's session we have. Sorry, I was just announced that the Prowler one is private, so let me just change the.
That would be great for us to save money on swag, but we want to give swag away.
Yeah.
Actually, we were building new stickers. We were the launch Prowler stickers. I have a box here full of things and t-shirts. So happy to ship them.
That's cool. That's cool. Can you hit a refresh on the form for Prowler?
Yeah, let me see. Now it works. Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, so that's the form for the Prowler swag, and in today's session we will cover using automation tools, and we have with us Toni from Prowler, CEO and founder. So thank you, Toni, for joining. And how are you doing?
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. So it's great to have time to share with you today. Also, we are going to share time together on stage in a month and a half from now. That is going to be
on
also
10th of
amazing.
April.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for inviting me to talk about something that we love to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool, and I also like Prowler, and I also like cloud security, and now we have the chance to help people uh, learn a bit more about cloud security, which is a good thing nowadays. So one reason I wanted you to help me present this session was because myself, I used a lot a single tool for scanning cloud environments, and I don't have that much experience with Prowler. But most importantly, Prowler has a lot of new features. Like you have to actually continuously check what new features and what new components Prowler has, and what better. Who would be better than yourself to present your tool? And just to make a short sum up, so in the first session, we talked about what is cloud security and what it means. In the second, we had Ryan Olet, who talked about what is okay and not okay to do in the cloud environment, then manual configuration review, and now we have automated configuration. And I wanted to put this in the context of why it's important to use an automation tool for scanning cloud environments. And I can share a little thing from my experience. So, as I said, I was using mostly one scanner, and I was doing a project with a colleague, and they just used Prowler, which I never done, and they identify something that I haven't. And I was like, okay, it's important to use multiple tools to make sure that you cover as much as possible as you can. And what are your thoughts on performing enumeration at scale? I mean, how do you see the importance of of using a scanner in the cloud
Yeah.
application.
So, as you say, when it comes to assessing a cloud environment, of course, you need to know what you're looking for, but at the same time, don't hesitate to use as many tools as you need. Prowler has, when I started Prowler, I had that in mind. Actually, I needed a tool by that time to do that. So what we try to solve, and what I tried to solve to myself back in 2016 when I wrote the first version of Prowler in Bash, now it's Python, but it was a Bash script back then. It was like, okay, I have a bunch of AWS accounts. Now Prowler was for AWS, now it's for AWS, Azure, GCP, Kubernetes, Microsoft 365 is coming as well.
Nice.
So the question was, what do I have? First of all, right? When it comes to hardening or assessment or doing a one-point assessment, you need to know what do you have. Then where is my data? Because I may have resources, but in the cloud, people think about workloads. But at the end of the day, we are protecting data, our data or third-party data, our customer, our employer, whatever data, and to know if it is secure. Also to take care about the ephemeral. How many ephemeral services do I have? Are those ephemeral resources secure as well? And all that stuff, right? So there are many questions that we need to solve as soon as possible. Many of those questions can be automated. So that is what we try. We try to go through the most important services and resource types, scan them for misconfigurations, but also beyond misconfigurations, like trying to get roles or policies that are not correct, or resource policies that are too open or not using the least privilege principle. That may lead into lateral movement, privilege escalation, things like that. We can automate many, many different things. Well, actually, we have now more than 1,000 controls or checks. We call checks, but those are technical controls, right? To know if, let's say, a security group is open to the internet with the port 22, for example,
Yeah.
or something way more complex. For example, for databases or configuration in Glue or Athena services, or even Entra ID for Azure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that you might encounter when checking any cloud environment is deployment of resources in multiple regions, which is really hard to do manually. I mean, you really have you really need a tool that will go across every region and check what resources are there and as you said, how they are configured.
Exactly. We can see a very good example that this is totally 100% truth, because AWS solved and kind of solved this problem last year with the Resource Explorer. That was the first time that they offered something as an inventory multi-region,
Yeah,
and that is not multi account unless you do some sort of aggregation, right? So that is has always been a challenge in AWS, the region part, mostly if you want to go click ops. And this is key when you to respond to your first question about why automation. Is because back in the days without the cloud, when we wanted to have a workload, let's say a DNS server, you had to order the server or the two servers if it was going to run in a cluster, put them in your data center, do all the wiring stuff, install the operating system, patch the operating system, install the application, patch the application, and configure everything around, like the agents, etc., etc. We are talking about 6 months, right?
yeah,
From the need to having in production the service, right?
yeah, yeah,
And now is Terraform apply. That's
yeah,
all.
yeah,
Boom.
exactly,
Right? Or
exactly.
CloudFormation deploy. And it's like, so if launching services or workloads is automated, security around that has to be automated somehow, right? From
Yeah,
the
exactly.
assessment or point in time discovery or assessment to the continuous monitoring part, right? Everything.
Yeah,
But I agree with you that in some cases, you need to, or even mix tools to make sure you are consistent, or to do some manual stuff to make sure it's not a false positive. Of course, we work hard to make sure we are not giving false positives, but sometimes it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We, but yeah, I mean, that is probably a single conversation to talk about false positives in the cloud. But actually, we offer different solutions for that.
Yeah, which is really cool. At the end of the day, false positives using automation tools, what can you do? It happens, obviously. But I always say to people that using scanners for cloud security, you cover kind of 80-90% of the job. You still have some things that you have to manually verify. I personally like to look a bit at the code from the Lambda functions, maybe some vulnerabilities, some secrets there, things like that are hard to cover automatically at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but grabbing some low-hanging fruits and also checking a lot of resources in a short time is something that you have to do. And my example, the one that I started talking in the beginning, was my colleague discovered the prowler secrets in ECS task definitions, and it was like that task had like 40 versions, something like that, and about 5-7 of them had secrets. Like doing that manually is really a pain.
Yeah, that has been always a very discussed or conflicted check. So to put the people in context, ECS has, of course, different ways to run tasks, right? Like, I mean, actually, we use that in Prowler a lot. But so every task has a definition, and definition is like variables and data for the task in order to work. Let's say that you need something to pull data from a database every 24 hours. That is a task, and you have multiple definitions whenever you are improving the task or adding stuff for that task. And we have found security issues with that, like when the people doesn't know how to do that securely, like using SSM variables, with the parameter stored, etc. They put them in clear text in variables in many
Yeah.
places, including, of course, the definitions of ECS. The point is that with automation, there are hundreds and sometimes thousands of definitions. And when we created that check, we said, okay, this is going to be tough, because even for us, when of course, when we test every single problem check in our environment, we realized that was taking a lot of time, because we had one of the ACS with 10,000 definitions. Very, right?
Yeah.
But still, with that, you have the opportunity to find stuff, right? So that
Yeah.
is the
Exactly.
point. So everybody's, I mean, there are a lot of CSPMs or similar tools, but you have to go sometimes into the detail per check to see what is this trying to find. So that is why I always said, hey, the best way to trust your CSPM is looking what they do, what every check that does, right? Not only trusting the data that you get, but trusting what the code that it does. And we go directly through the SDK the API of the cloud provider, not
Yeah.
only to the database where the data is stored, right?
Yeah. Nice. Nice. I was thinking about this example with credentials from ECS tests, and when you are doing configuration reviews, you have to put everything in the context of who can actually enable that misconfiguration. Like, if you don't have anybody that can read that secret, or at least you have only administrators, maybe the risk is not that great. Obviously, hard-coded secrets is a bad practice because it can lead to additional exposure of systems. But when you are trying to, you have to also analyze it yourself. Like, if you are not sure of something, always double check. It's not like when you are doing configuration reviews, the tool will do everything for you. You still have to manually verify, see who actually can enable that attack vector. But that's actually the fun part. The boring part is actually doing repetitive tasks, which takes a lot of time.
Yeah, so this is good because in the cloud, when we find when we get failed findings in the cloud, sometimes it's hard to um, to know the risk, the actual risk of that finding, even if it's a critical finding. Because,
Yeah,
for example, a critical finding could be a port exposed to the internet, a port like remote desktop, right? Port exposed to the
yeah,
internet through a public subnet in a VPC, all that stuff, right? But what if that is a test server, right? That has nothing. So
yeah,
probably the risk is not very high. But what if that server has attached credentials for the
yeah,
IMDS version 1 instead of version
yeah,
2? And those credentials are admin credentials, or not admin, but credentials with access to a one S3 bucket with PII and one
yeah.
RDS instance with also PII.
That's enough.
So it's like, so to know the risk from our side, as an open source platform, is like we want to give the most important details, and of course the user sometimes has to validate, because of course we don't have access to a database in order to know if that database or that S3 bucket has PII. But at least we tell you, we get to the door and knock your door, and we say, hey, look at this because it seems suspicious. That's all. And for us, it's high severity or critical severity. For you, you will tell.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is actually an advice I want to give everyone who's doing cloud configuration reviews. If you are not sure about what data will be exposed and what is the actual risk, just assume the worst and allow the client to tell you that, hey, this is actually lower, and then you can lower the severity based on an argument rather than minimizing a risk. And the client might be, they will not fix it because they will see something as low or medium when in fact it's actually a big deal.
Yeah, actually, we also have so something that works very well with AI is to give a little bit of context and allow you to figure out how important is or that this or that, right? So we are working on that in order to provide that into Prowler. So it's like, okay, for example, if you have a production account for a workload that is exposed to the internet, um, if you don't have TLS enabled in your ALB, TLS 1.3 at least, right? I mean, at least
Yeah,
the more than beyond the 1.2, 1.1 or 1.2, right?
yeah,
That is high or critical severity, I would say, critical severity. But if it's staging, it's not critical severity. It's important, right, to take into
yeah,
account. So that context with AI works very well. But also, when you something that we do at Prowler is you can change the severity and even any metadata of the finding based on your needs. So if you are
seriously,
scanning,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Actually, we have a config file where you can do that. The mute list where you can also mute, but also
Okay,
we have the custom metadata where
okay,
you can
nice.
change that based on your whatever you're scanning. So if you are scanning, for example, production, you can switch some severities in some checks if you want to.
Okay, okay, awesome. And would you like to share more of what is Prowler doing, how it can be used, and
Of course.
what is the direction it has? Because I've seen in the last half a year, Prowler evolved a lot, and actually I can keep up with everything that's going on.
Yeah, and that is good, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome.
it's even I know I have conversations with our head of marketing, Laura, and Matt, our dev rel, and they are even always struggling to catch up with everything that we are releasing. But it's good because the team is working really hard,
Absolutely.
adding more features, also adding fixes, and creating the whole platform. So let me share my screen if you like.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
show you a little bit about the whole platform that we have. Let me see if I can select the entire screen here. Yep. I guess you can see my
Now I will. Yeah.
terminal.
Now it's yes,
Terminal.
yes.
Okay. The terminal and the documentation site. So Probably many of our listeners or watchers are aware of Prowler as a CLI tool, right? And still being a very powerful CLI tool that we keep improving and adding more features. So it's as easy as you install Prowler, you run Prowler, as you can see here. Let me put this a little bit bigger. Prowler, where is this? Right here. Prowler with AWS, Prowler Azure, Prowler GCP, Kubernetes, etc. And you scan everything. So you can see here an example that I have scanned the account that you give to me. So you can get an overview of the findings. You can see also an overview of all the services that we have scanned. And remember, out of the box, Prowler goes through all regions. The same way that if you don't say anything different, Prowler goes through all subscriptions, all projects in Google, and all namespaces in a Kubernetes cluster. Okay.
And also, just one thing to add here: if you just type Prowler and run the command, it will start at least an AWS scan if you have credentials configured in the default profile. So maybe you want to pay attention if the credentials are not from your environment, to not just type Prowler, hoping to get a help menu.
Yeah, look at this. It is our documentation site in docs.prowler.com. If you come here to Prowler CLI, we give you some tips on how to use, see, with profile. You can filter by regions as well if you only want to check one region, etc. And also how to configure it for Azure, for Google Cloud, with also the requirement authentication, all that stuff that is needed. Okay.
Nice.
And also you can scan Kubernetes from outside, but also from inside Kubernetes. Okay, as a path, as you can see here. So so in Prowler we have the CLI. I'm going to go through the CLI a little bit. See, we have the overview view of per service that we have found. Also, every single scan that you get in Prowler is going to give you the general overview in different formats, and also the compliance related findings in CSV with all the compliance related information. So here is JSON OCSF. This is great because you can use OCSF. It is an open source format that is our default format and allows you to integrate these findings to pretty much any system that supports this format, from Defect Dojo to Splunk, Elasticsearch.
Security Hub, right?
Security Hub has other format that you can use in Prowler. Yeah. Security Hub has ASFF, which is another JSON. Yeah. And if you add -- Security Hub in Prowler, it's going to generate that format as well. Yeah. But OCSF, for example, works also for Amazon Security Lake. Okay. Mm-hmm. And if you have CSVs, it's also very easy to create your own dashboards or import in a spreadsheet to work with it. And this HTML file, let me open it here. This HTML file is very helpful, for a quick review of what you have. It's not very nice, but it's very handy. For example, you can go here, filters, show me all the fails for critical fails. And there we go. We have a public SQS. MFA is not enabled. An instance with posing SSH, this instance with this subnet. See? Not MFA hardware, MFA secrets. I mean, all this stuff because these are part of the SAD cloud stuff. Yeah. So this HTML is very convenient when you want to share stuff with third parties and highlight stuff. But at the same time, we have all the compliance that we support in a compliance folder. Let me show you LS here. See, all the compliance files with all the details can be here. Let me open, for example, the CIS. Open. 1 second. This is. Let me open this one, for example. Oops, 1 sec. Open this. I think this is going to be numbers. Yeah. Let me make it this a little bit bigger. See, this is pretty much everything that you can see in the CIS benchmarks but with all the information about the requirements, the assessment date, the region that we are assessing, the requirement description, actually what CIS is telling you, the section, everything that allows you, see, level 1, level 2, to create
Yeah.
even your own dashboard or your own reports.
Mhm.
All the remediation, so requirement attributions, the remediations that CIS tells you to do. This should be here. Yeah, remediation procedure. See, everything related to CIS and Prowler
Nice.
at the same time.
Nice.
It's very comprehensive, and we have exactly the same with the specific information per compliance framework for all the providers.
Yeah, that's nice. And the last session, I don't know if it was on site or online, but someone asked if they can use AWS Security Hub to verify the compliance on CIS benchmark. And I showed them that the latest version was version 3 supported, and the latest CIS benchmark was version 4. So it's better to do also some either scanning or manual review based on the benchmark instead of just relying on native cloud services.
Actually, in 5.4 that we release on Monday, is going to be
The Prowler version you're referring to.
Prowler 5.4. Yes, it's going to be the ISO 27001 2022. Is going to be the CIS 4 as well. Is going to be
nice.
The PCI 4 as well. So we are updating everything all the time as well. But just for the people to know. And here people can find how to send all the stuff from Prowler to Security Hub step by step in our Prowler documentation. So if we want to go beyond just the CLI has multiple options. You can see here parallel executions, pen testing stuff, custom metadata, mute lists, Slack, a lot of things, or even fixers. But if you want to know Prowler AWS list fixers, Prowler, how many things Prowler can fix, you can see more than 50 fixers. This is what we call fixers, nice. But are remediations, right? It's like this is a Python file that it can do anything that you want, like low-hanging fruit or very, very advanced stuff, So I think this is very helpful when you are under an auditory and you need to fix stuff quickly.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, CIS is telling me, or SOC 2 Type 2 is telling me that I have to have in production guard duty enabled, and I have 3 regions without guard duty enabled. Okay, you can go here and run Prowler AWS. That's check. The guard duty is enabled, and you said fixer, and it goes with enough permissions, because by default Prowler doesn't have permissions to do this. If you give Prowler permissions for this, it is going to enable guard duty in all the regions that you are not. Or you can filter region US East 1 and US or whatever EU West 1. Something like that, and you enable that only in those regions if it's not enabled already. Okay.
Yeah, that's really cool, because some things are actually very black and white. They are enabled or not, or they are exposed or not, and they can just be remediated like that. And some things should be remediated, like having something public that shouldn't exist.
If you see the list, you can easily realize that are a lot of low-hanging fruit and important things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, hey, I found RDS snapshot public in multiple regions. Let's close this straight away, quickly, boom.
Yeah, you don't care if you break production. That's
exactly
not supposed to be available.
Exactly, this is, or SQs or whatever important things. But at the same time, fixers, that you can see here in the documentation, we offer this is how to write a fixer and the config file. So, for example, if you want to add your custom password policy, Prowler can do that for you as well. Or Security Hub with default standards enable or disable. I mean, you can add the configuration for the remediations as well as you need. It's very straightforward. and very easy to use because you don't have to learn anything that you don't know. It's Python and a YAML file.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's cool. That's cool.
We're going a little bit beyond. We can go to Prowler dashboard.
That's really nice. I mean,
which
when
is
I saw
the
this,
local dashboard. So if
Yeah.
you are doing an assessment for in your company and you have a bunch of reports, CSV reports for multiple compliance, because this is actually it is running from here.
Okay.
Okay. What is that? This is here. Yes. See, you come here to the Prowler dashboard in localhost port 11666, the number of the beast. and if you have a multiple assessments, you can see all of them here. You can see also the posture evolution in the last 7 days. If you are 1 week building and hardening stuff, you can see how good or bad you are doing it. And of course, drill down into all the findings here. So this is like a very handy way to have what we call now Prowler app, which is the whole platform. And also you can still work in the CLI using the local dashboards, but if you want to go beyond, you can just install Prowler app with Docker Compose or going to our cloud.prowler.com. It's exactly the same. So you can have, let me show you, this is, let me see if it's working because this was running in Docker desktop. So, but see, are the same findings that we found in the other view. Oops, let me see, because I think I have stopped the clusters, the Docker Compose before. Let me see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it is working, I think. So this is what's going on? 1 second. This is supposed to be working.
Well, that's how it goes with live demos.
I probably closed the window with the Docker Compose app. 1 second.
Yeah,
this is going to take time, but let me go. I can go to here. Cloud.
Well, I can.
Yeah, this is one is the same. Is the same. I wanted to show a couple of new things, but so let me show you this here in Scan Jobs. Look at this training. This is yours. So we have run here. You can add the provider and see all the findings.
Yeah, nice.
See all the findings here. See, you can filter by status only. For example, show me only fails. Show me only by whatever service I'm worried about, or even severity. Show me only critical severity and high severity. Okay, we have 202 critical. Critical and high severity stuff. So, for example, if this is MFA, we have everything about the MFA here, the check that we have run, the resource details, and everything that we have run here in the scan. This is the assessment details, right? Also, for example, SQS. This is another way. We have here a link to the Trem Micro documentation to know how to fix it. This is the SAT Cloud SQS resource, the resource names, if you want to add it into any automation, etc. And of course, from here you can download the results. Okay, so this is not here now. It is in the version 5.4 that is going to be released next week. And through the API. So let me show you here. See the API, the Prowler API. You can pull the zip report with all the files inside. The same files that we have here in Prowler. When you do an assessment in Prowler, all this let me show you. All these files you can download also from the web interface, or send them to somewhere else. Like I said before, for any other integration, to create your own dashboards, whatever you need. So this is the whole journey of the user, for one-time assessment, for continuous monitoring, and to build your own CSPM as well, right?
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know a question that might come later, and maybe we can address it. How can you scan multiple accounts, let's say AWS accounts in the same organization. I know Prowler supports this, but maybe you can talk a bit about it.
Yep. So if you want to do that through the CLI, you can come here and pull the organization stuff from with a role here, and this is going to be to get all the details from all the accounts, and in the report, in the CSV and the JSON is going to be even the email address associated to the account, and then you can run, for example, get all my accounts that are active in organizations, and then with Prowler, it can run this way, and you get and scan. We have another ways to do this in parallel, okay? But this is a very good example of how you can do this. And in Prowler, you can in the app, you can do that also using the API to add all of them. And we are adding also a way to import the organization, the management account only, in order to pull the accounts as well directly.
Yeah, nice.
So
nice.
At the end of the day, when you have here cloud providers, you can add all the cloud providers that you want. And we now we support using the UI only account by account, but using the API, you can add multiple accounts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really cool to have a central dashboard monitoring multiple cloud environments, multiple accounts. I know there are internal security teams that actually need to have this kind of view over the whole cloud environment. And I was actually asked specifically how they can use something like Prowler to scan the whole organization where they had like 1,000 AWS accounts, which was a lot.
Exactly. So, and also it supports RBAC. So you can create accounts, a group of accounts, and give access only to certain departments or areas. For example, for your SOC team or your developers to access only to the developer accounts to see what they have right or wrong. And it's very easy to use. So it is basically you download these two files, and the Docker Compose and the variables files and Docker Compose app. That's all. And you go to localhost 3000 and you get it. Of course, you can go to Docker Prowler Cloud straight instead. But if you want your own, you can do it this way.
Yeah, it's cool because I know some organizations, they would prefer to self-host their solutions and
yeah, exactly. So that is why we truly believe in a full open source platform, not just some features yes, some other features no. So Prowler is what it is, the whole platform, and as an open source to make sure everybody has the whole experience, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I know you started recently the open cloud movement. Maybe I mean I'm a fan of that, and maybe we can talk a bit about it. Do you want to do it now, or do you want to cover something else from Prowler before?
Well, to more about the product is that for people that they want to know what else is coming, roadmap.prowler.com. They can see that we are adding new filters. This export is going to be released next week. We are working on single sign-on, Security Hub integration from the UI. We have Security Hub from the CLI, but not from the UI.
Okay.
Jira, Microsoft 365, as you can see, we already have some checks. And a few more things, the mute list, the configuration file in the UI as well, S3 in the UI, and many other things. So, I mean, since we are community driven, anybody that wants to collaborate, please help us with feedback and also developing features if you want to. So this is the last thing I wanted to highlight. Also, we will release a couple more services this quarter. So yeah, keep an eye on everything that we do.
Yeah.
That is
I
about
guess
the
you post
product.
everything both on GitHub, but mostly on LinkedIn or other social media, right? I mean the actual page of Prowler.
LinkedIn is what we use mostly. Blue Sky, I'm in Blue Sky, and I'm in Twitter. But yeah, LinkedIn is where we live most of the time.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes, about open cloud security. You want to cover that now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it fits well.
Mhm. Something that I realized since long ago was that cloud. I mean, I'm a fan of open source since long ago. I've been involved in multiple open source projects, from Spanish Linux environments um, to now Prowler, and also other security projects open source. And in the cloud, there is something important that is happening. In the last years, we have had exactly the same problems, and this is not changing. Let's say, I mean, what are the most important cloud security issues? Misconfigurations. The same misconfigurations that we have today happened 8 years ago, 5 years ago. IAM vulnerabilities, because IAM is hard. Um, Interfaces, API leaks, data breaches, all that stuff still exists the same. And why? Because if you want to have a proper security solution, you have to pay a fortune. It's not only about to pay a fortune. You have to trust a third party without knowing what's going on. We have out there many different services. How many CSPMs are out there? 100? And they are great. They
Yeah.
are very good and helpful solutions. But from your need to their solution, there is a big gap. And the gap can be procurement processes, can be money for probably, can be, you name it. But that gap is like this thing with open source. Because you need something, you get it, you download it, use it. If eventually you need support, you need enterprise services, etc., you pay for it. But remember, in the cloud, somebody is paying the party all the time, because in the
Yeah.
cloud, you have to pay something, right? So the open source is open, but it's not necessarily free all the time, right? For the context of the cloud. So that is
Yeah.
why we said, hey, we need to promote a movement. We need to promote that allows people to access proper platform and comprehensive tools to keep their cloud secure. Otherwise, people is going to get tired of having problems in the cloud. We need to make the cloud more secure with open source, and that is the open cloud security movement. Sharing knowledge, sharing tools, and being close to the needs of the users in the cloud. Otherwise,
Mhm.
nobody's going to trust the cloud vendors. No matter if AWS wants to put S3 blocked access by default.
Yeah.
That is not enough. It's beyond that. It's because the shared responsibility model is broken, and people is so confused with that. So that is
Mhm.
why we wanted to say, hey, let's do something by the community instead of waiting all the cloud providers to agree on having something secure. This is not such a thing like SE Linux or similar, in the cloud. So
Yeah.
we have to build that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds good, and I think it can go beyond just tooling, like something that I feel it's um, it's a bit missing in the industry. Um, some attackers are doing some breaches, right? And it would be awesome if whoever tries to protect the customer and sees the breach will kind of report it, right? Will make it public. Obviously, that will show that you don't have the proper control to stop the breach. And maybe your competition will be like, hey, we actually can cover this. But if I were to dream about it, it would be cool if organization can share what attackers are doing, what new techniques are out there, so that everyone can actually implement the fixes for that attacker. And I think
Hmm.
open cloud security can go beyond tooling with this kind of knowledge sharing, as you mentioned.
Exactly. So that is the main goal. Sharing also knowledge, sharing knowledge with the community, and keep growing the community. I mean, the cloud security forum is doing a very good job in the knowledge transfer part, in the knowledge sharing part, and also building some stuff, or being a driver to publish what others are doing, like the recently published cloudsectools.com,
Yeah,
right?
Classictools.com, right?
cloudsectools.com is a very good place where people can go and see, hey, what is open source for cloud security available for me because I need this or that, and that is great. And also the
Yeah,
people from Datadog are releasing stuff for
very
people to
good stuff.
learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good stuff there. I mean, so this is a very small community so far, but it's going to be huge in 2-3 years. You will see.
Yeah, yeah, I think that too. And I would like to mention some tools that I personally used and I found useful. Obviously, you can go to cloudsectools.com and see almost everything that's out there. But just to name a few is CowSuite, which is another cloud scanner that is actually very beginner friendly, and it can be used complementary to Prowler to get a better view or a second opinion on some things. You also have CloudSploit, you have Electric Eye, you have things like Yam Action Hunter for searching who can actually perform some actions. You have Packwood that is more for hacking. What else is out there? Principal
Steam
Mapper.
Steam Pipe, Chekhov.
Yeah,
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 those
there
are
are a lot of good tools.
the big names, and they're very helpful for everybody. Yeah, so
Mhm.
if you are somehow in charge of security, or even if you are a cloud developer, you should run at least one or two of these tools
Yeah.
often.
Not to mention the utility tools like validating policies, trying to generate least privilege principal policies. There are tools that are doing just a small thing, but a very important thing, and would be very helpful for you and your environment to use them. Most of them are just open source. People are actually building them and releasing them to be used freely, which is really cool.
Yep, totally. Yeah, and this is good. It's good to keep growing the list of tools, not only CSPM but beyond that, or KSPN as we are now, also with Kubernetes. But yeah, setting also proper expectations and guardrails on the on configuration stuff is very helpful. Unfortunately, nowadays we have most of the tools that we know are for AWS.
Yeah.
We are moving towards multi-cloud. Actually, we have major cloud providers already supported because it's very hard. Mostly for Microsoft Azure, it's hard to write tools because everything is prepared for PowerShell stuff
Yeah.
instead of Python, for example, or Go. But I mean, it is what it is. It's like the times of. So this is why the cloud is the new operating system, right? It's like 20 years ago, the wars that we have between Linux and Windows is still the same. Azure and
Yeah.
AWS now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Now, in the recent events, at least in the last years, we've seen a lot of supply chain attacks, and maybe it's worth pointing out that maybe take a look before installing tools. That just because they are open source doesn't mean you should just blindly run them as root. So take a look before or ask the community of an opinion. Um, I just realized that we were getting all these tools recommended and so on, and we don't want people to have their access credentials exposed. And it's also a good practice to just run scanners or tool with the minimum level of permissions, like ideally only read only, or if you want to also implement some automated fix to just grant the permission to do that. But don't run tools with administrator level permissions because it's unnecessary exposure.
Yeah. So we always give. Actually, in our repo, there is a CloudFormation template that you can download for the Prowler role. And it's read
Okay.
only. It's read only. You can install in all your accounts, or any role that we have in our documentation is read only for any cloud provider, and use it instead of anything like admin.
Mhm.
So I remember back in the days, I created a repo. I still have it. It's my arsenal of AWS security tools, which is similar to the cloudsectools.com, but in GitHub. And people, I was testing all the tools that I was adding there, and some
Okay.
tools break stuff. So, so don't add all the permissions. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Now, I would like to share with people the access credentials of this vulnerable environment so that they can try to run Prowler or any other tool they want. I hope. I mean, now I feel bad I didn't tell them to install the tools beforehand, but for the next hour or so, the credentials will be valid and you have time to also install the tool and also run a scan on the environment. I'm not sure how everything will go with tens of people running a scan, but my friends at AWS, I hope they can forgive me. Um, and in the meantime, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. I don't know, Tony, if you can see the chat.
Yeah, I see. I can see. I have. We have a couple of questions here from Grasum. Well, I think they were more or less answered. Um, but yeah, how did the idea of Prowler start? When did he take the leap on faith to work full time on this program? The idea was because I needed something to know what I in that by that time I needed a tool, and also I wanted to learn writing something by myself. By that time, though, I was doing a lot of forensics in the cloud. I created a forensics policy and workflow and all that stuff. And I realized that okay, we are doing forensics because things are not secure, so we are having attacks. So let's try to do a hardening tool, or at least a tool to realize what will we have. And that is why I started with Prowler. And over the years, I saw the adoption was growing, also the number of stars, and also number of VCs, venture capitalists, were reaching out to me to say, "Hey, do something by yourself." And but I went to work for AWS. I didn't want to start a company, so I worked for AWS a couple of years. I learned a lot there. I had a lot of fun, but also I realized how important was Prowler, and that I wanted to put all my effort on Prowler to see how far we can go. And now we have a company. We have 18 engineers and growing. We had a seed fund from Silicon Valley and venture capitalists, and more people from all around the world, and growing as a product, as you can see, as an open source platform, and as a company. So, and sometimes this is about faith. Totally, it's 100%. It's all about faith,
But you
but
definitely have
also followed by good numbers. Yeah.
yeah. Um, Thank you for sharing that, and it's a great help for the cloud security community to have an open source platform that is actively working with a team of developers on doing more and more for the industry.
Thank you, Edward. Thanks for also for your support. Yeah, looking forward to see you in person in 5 weeks or 6 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. So just a quick reminder on 10th of April at AWS Community Day Romania in Timișoara. Me and Tony will both do something together again. We'll present. We'll have a talk that we hope it will be really cool. We still have to settle the details, but I'm actually looking forward for this. It will be fun.
Yeah, what is 100% sure is that the people that is going to be there are going to take a few things away, and they are going to be able to practice what we are going to show in minutes right after the talk. So that is the good thing of practical things. Actually, I remember I told you I don't want to use PowerPoint or anything. I want to just share screen and do stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I also like that. And not only is I like it more than doing PowerPoint presentations, but you can actually reduce the time you have to spend on preparation. Like if you already know what you have to present and you can do it like live, then don't waste time with the presentation. It's just as a backup maybe, but I mean, it
Yeah.
saves so much time doing things live, and that's how I actually approached most of these sessions. I actually wanted to talk, and I think people also react better at this kind of engagement, being a discussion, being live. I have to say, I find myself presentations a bit boring now, unless they are, I don't know, done right covered or they cover something really complex.
Yeah, yeah. It's I always prefer to do everything live. Sometimes in the cloud, the internet connection, the places,
Yeah.
yeah, is hard, but yes, is what we love the most. You know, technical
Mhm.
stuff live. It's
Yeah,
heavy metal at the end of the day,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Very Iron Maiden, right?
Yes, it's like
uh,
playing live. Okay,
yeah,
Edward,
yeah.
I have a meeting right now at 7. It's
Oh,
7
okay,
p.m.
okay,
in Spain, so
okay.
I have to go. Sorry because I have to leave now, but it was a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody that joined the session, and I'm looking forward to see all of you in person soon.
Yeah, thank you for coming and have a nice weekend. Bye bye, Tony.
Thank you.
Uh, okay, everyone. So that was Tony from Prowler. If you have other questions that I can answer, I will take them. We'll hang around a few more minutes. Also, I managed to share the giveaway links, the links for the giveaway registration on LinkedIn. It seems I had some issues there, and I also shared the access keys for for the vulnerable environment. And if you want, you can download some tools, use the access keys to play with the tools. Just keep in mind that in about an hour, uh, I will disable the access keys and I will bring down the environment. But until then, you are free to scan as much as you want. This is a user that has limited read-only permissions, so you should be able to check everything. My recommendation is to get to generate some reports with the tools, and even if the access is taken down later, you will have the option to check your reports and see what findings were present in the environment. Um, Someone asked overall, what are the AWS security concepts I need to learn? So this is this session is part of a 5 session workshop on cloud security, but mostly focused on AWS. And you can check the other sessions. They are recorded on YouTube, but also available on LinkedIn. Um, and other concepts besides this, I would say to start with what we covered previously, and depending on what you actually want to do next, feel free to reach out and we can talk more. The same person said cloud security audit in both AWS, Azure, GCP, how to start, learn, where to start and where to end. Um, First, choose one cloud provider and start learning it by creating an account and creating some services, trying to configure them yourself and see how that goes. Check what problems can occur when using certain configurations, and you can then move to using vulnerable infrastructures like the ones I used in this testing environment. So I used Cloud that was made by NCC Group, if I'm not mistakenly, and I used an YAM privilege escalation made by SetArt, and I hope I got that right. So you can deploy your vulnerable infrastructure, a vulnerable infrastructure in your AWS account, and then or other cloud provider, and then you can essentially run scanners, read the documentation, and learn what the problems are and how they can affect the security of your environment. I hope that that answered your question. Mm, we'll just okay. I'm not sure I understand the question, but we can take this. We can take this separately. You can reach me on LinkedIn or Twitter, um, and we can take it from there. So, if we have any other questions, I will stick around 2 more minutes or so, and then we will end this. We will have one more session, part of this online training, and that session will be next week. I'm not sure I can remember the day exactly, but it's on the LinkedIn event. And in that session, we will cover some last parts of what it means to do a cloud configuration review from a security perspective, and we will see how you can report findings, what other types of engagements you can perform, and it will be more of a discussion based on what questions you have left. And I will try to cover some pitfalls that you might encounter when trying to discuss time, effort, scope, what elements to include in a cloud configuration review and whatnot. So it should help you be more comfortable in engaging in a discussion with the customer and trying to make things right both for you but also for the customer. A question about the giveaway. So we have 20 vouchers for the AWS Cloud Practitioner certification, and we have 3 vouchers of $100 for the AWS merchandise shop. And also we have swag from Prowler. I'm not sure how many. We will see based on how many people registered. And essentially, in the last session, we will use something like random.org, and we will try to announce the winners live if that's possible. But I don't want to share the names of everyone that registered, so we need to figure out a way to keep the confidentiality and announce the winners. But the winners will be announced in the last session, which is next week. Good. Well, if you don't have any other questions, we will close for today. Thank you everyone for joining in. And if you have questions, you can reach out. Don't forget to follow the DEFCON Cluj LinkedIn page where we announce future workshops and sessions. And I'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.